a real estate broker for 36 years. And I have done all kinds of things in the real estate world. Specifically, my expertise and specialization is representation of home sellers. So that's what I do. I don't know if any of our partners are on the call. I'm assuming they might not be because they didn't come up on video, but we have some other people that also help as well. Lydia, welcome, Lydia. Say hello, Lydia.
Good morning, everybody. Happy to be here again. Thank you, Brett.
So Lydia has a fantastic background in the 55 plus world. What I think is most relative is that you have been at a lot of different facilities. So in our first event you hosted, you were talking about the various options that are available. And you have a personal experience, which is so nice at being at all these various other places, which I think adds a lot of relativity to the call. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Happy to be part of it.
Now let's see. How about Erin? Are you there?
I am here. Yes. Thanks for having me.
Okay. So this is our primary guest today. You have tons of experience, just like me, which I love. When I saw the 37, I think I'm right at about the same level, although I hate to admit it.
Yeah, that ages me. Thanks for putting that.
But you are a partner. You founded your company. You're going to be talking about that whole industry and how it's beneficial and helpful to our listeners. We have a lot of people online, so I'm very happy. And I think you're going to explain a little bit of how your process works and what the benefit is for the senior community. Is that about right?
Right. I think this is a great opportunity to get the word out about who we are and what we do, so people can decide if this is a service that would be really helpful for them or a loved one. Okay.
And before we jump into the presentation, what I'd like to offer everyone on the call is that, and we do this for every one of our workshops, our webinars, and that is if anyone on the call needs help, you're aging in place, you need you need help at the house, whether that's a handyman, a plumber, a painter, whatever that is that you need, we have those people. You're welcome to call us. We don't charge for it. It's just something we do. So keep it in mind. If there's anything you need to make your life easier, you're welcome to call us anytime. We have people that call us for painters, plumbers, carpenters, electricians, carpet cleaners, moving services, you name it, we have it, okay? So the number one question we get continually from everyone is should I stay in my home? Should I move? And what are the options, right? Like, where do we go? In some of our other webinars, we focused on that. Those that have missed some of the earlier ones, you're welcome to contact us for recording. This event will be recorded, and we're happy to share it with anyone that needs the information. So Erin, tell us a little bit about this whole concept, this geriatric care management, and how it works and what it's all about.
Okay, I'll try to keep that specific because I could talk for hours about that.
Okay.
So this is a field that started back in the 80s, basically from social workers who were discharge planners in hospital settings. And they found that they were guiding their patients at discharge and they kept coming back. And they decided that something was happening after the discharge. Follow-up wasn't, they weren't getting their appointments. Maybe they didn't get their new prescriptions. Therapy services weren't happening. So they left that hospital setting and started to work privately. So that's sort of the impetus of the field. And who we are health and human services professionals. My background is nursing. There's social work, psychology, public health, therapy. It's a multidisciplinary field, and we all have some education and experience, many of us advanced degrees and certifications in fields related to aging. So who we are initially are consultants. Older adults or sometimes adult children will contact us with questions like, should I stay at home or should I move?
That's the question always.
Yes, and it's a good question, and the answer is often it depends. Let's take a look. So we do an assessment. We start off with an assessment, and then we do our research and make recommendations, and then review those with our clients. That's always the way it starts. And even if there's an urgent issue, like I really think dad needs to find an assisted living community, or there's no way that we think we can stay here in this home long term. We're very comprehensive in our assessment. We collect information on legal documents, power of attorneys, medications, medical providers. Who's in your world? Who's your support system? What are your hobbies? Do you have, is your faith an important part of who you are? So again, very comprehensive. And then we will present, all right, so here's option A. If you stay home, here's how to make that safer and more accessible. And that could include bringing in some caregivers, getting some ramps, grab bars, reconfiguring the home in a way that makes it safe. Or option B, if you're looking to move, let's get you educated on sort of the terminology that we in this field understand, but can be a foreign language to everybody who doesn't work in this industry. What does that mean? What is personal care versus assisted living? How about memory care? What is a CCRC? Some of these things that you visited and discussed before in your presentations. But we'll often say, we have this knowledge because this is what we do for a living. You have your own lives, your families, your work demands, you have limited time, and everything looks good on a website. So that doesn't mean everything is good, or maybe it doesn't mean everything's the right fit for you. So we are vetting through all these options to make your decision-making clearer. We're not decision makers. We are consultants. We provide information initially, but we're giving you the information so you can make the decisions that are best. And sometimes that's a stepped process. Sometimes that's start at home, and that works for a period of time. And then there's a decline or a change, or they're just not interested in that. And then we can shift our focus to, all right, let's look at moves and what are the best options now for you.
So it's really all encompassing. It sounds like there's a lot of parts and pieces to this puzzle. And it seems like it's the help with helping the family navigate this process. Is that what I'm hearing?
Exactly, that expression that's not mine, but it's out there, navigating the maze of elder care. So, and I think really each family is different. Each family's needs are different. And for the senior who's making decisions for themselves, that autonomy, that ability to make decisions that fit you is incredibly important. Even if your adult children are saying, oh, we're really worried you need to go, or we'll get a call, you have to convince mom that. That's not our job. Our job is not to convince mom that. We'll do our assessment and make our recommendations. And we may agree that it's really best for mom to move. And then we'll talk about how that makes sense in a way that fits her situation best.
So Lydia, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
On your side of the equation, where you're at the home place, what are you seeing as far as like this decision-making process? When they come in, are they completely happy and sold and ready to move in, or
Into personal care? No.
okay?
Usually, there's a need for it. Often I am working with families to kind of explore what it even is, and for the potential resident, really like understanding what it is. I have worked with many geriatric care managers myself, and often I am talking to geriatric care managers who are kind of exploring the options, as Erin was saying, to see what facility is the best fit. And that's a great relationship to have. I've known Erin for a long time. We've worked together. I'll just chime in here and say I've also used a geriatric care manager personally to find a facility for my mother-in-law in Florida. And I can talk more about that. But,
Interesting.
when people are looking at different facilities, I will say this is where it's so helpful to have somebody to kind of really cut through the fluff and the marketing stuff and be able to say like, this is, these are the best options for your mom or dad. And that's what I was so grateful for when we were dealing with this with my mother-in-law, because we did have a geriatric care manager take her to different facilities in Florida. And the one thing, Erin, that sticks in my mind, when she was exploring them, she laid out the information for each, knowing my mother-in-law. And then she said to us, this is the one I'm recommending. And she used this phrase, it's not the shiny penny. It's not the brand new facility with all the fancy stuff.
Got it.
But the staff has been there a long time. They have a great reputation. They provide really good care. And that's where we ended up having her go. So I'll be quiet now.
So then I guess the question for Erin is, how does somebody find you, and what's the point when they really need you?
Well, how they find us, there is a national association called the Aging Life Care Association, aginglifecare.org. And that is the one organization that has policies and procedures, codes of ethics, standards of practice. And in order for people to become a member, we have to meet all the education and experience criteria. So aginglifecare.org, it's a great website. I always say it has everything you'd ever want to know and more about our field, who we are and what we do. There is an orange bar on the upper right-hand corner. If you click on that, it says find an aging life care manager or specialist. Put your zip code in, and they will search within 25, 50 miles for everybody who serves your area. It will show that person's qualifications, whether they have certifications, how long they've been in business, if they're a solo practitioner or part of a larger company. And it will have a phone number, email addresses linked to the website. So I think that's a great first way to start. And you can trust that people who are in that organization, again, have the right background. We have continuing education requirements, all that sort of thing. But I always recommend that website because this is a field so few people are familiar with. Mm-hmm. They may know about case managers in the hospitals, and that's great. It gives you a sense of what we do, but we move beyond that. The expression I like to use is the rented daughter with expertise. Mm-hmm. Because
I love that.
Many of us
the shiny penny, and now I love that. Yes, this is awesome.
Yes, and I'll say to clients too, don't be fooled by the chandelier when you walk in. Again, the important thing, and another thing I think that we provide is that kind of inside information. We've been here, we know these communities, we've had clients in these communities, or with this or that home care company, hospice company, physical therapy company. We know who we trust to refer our clients to. And because we're involved with our clients at home, well, in any setting, mm-hmm. independent living, personal care, assisted, memory care, skilled, we continue with this relationship even after a move in many cases. It's not just sort of a drop and go. And I think another important sort of definitive thing about us as aging life care managers is that we have no financial relationship with any vendor, any senior living community. We're not placement agents. We do not get paid by those communities or providers. Mm-hmm. So everything is theoretically on the table as an option for our clients, and when there's no ethical concern with trying to encourage them to go here or go there.
So, and I'm going to second
go ahead,
the Aging Life Care org. I'm sorry. I have utilized the professional organization to find geriatric care managers, and that's a great resource.
Mm-hmm.
And what we'd like to do, if we could, Erin, is if you could share the link. Because on our website, we're building an entire section for 55 plus, the world of 55 plus. So we have downloaded tons of documents and information about various choices. That website would be very helpful if we could share that.
Sure, I will get that to you because I think it's a good resource.
So the one thing I see all the time is from our clients is that everybody wants to stay in their house forever. I mean, that's the reality. I mean, I go on a lot of appointments, and a lot of my clients say I'm going to stay here forever. So how does that fit for those that want to stay and age in place and not move somewhere else?
And for many people, I think that's a viable option. Yeah, we hear that I'm going out feet first. And, in theory, we would all like to live wonderful, productive lives. And then suddenly at the end of that, that's it. We don't wake up. And that's really nice. But I've been doing this for 11 years now. And I think maybe one time we had a client with that kind of scenario. So part of what we do is either in an active situation, like there's a fall, somebody's in the hospital, we have to find a good rehab place, or we know
Right.
that they can't move back home. So there's sort of crisis-based care management. And then we're also offering more now what I call proactive planning care management. That's where we're meeting with couples who are still independent, able to stay in their homes. There are no current issues, but we are understanding what their goals are, establishing that relationship, collecting all the information in case of an emergency, because we're on call for our clients. You go to the hospital and we can be there if you need us to. They don't all need us to. We have some clients with no adult children, so we're really serving that role. Or I have one client whose daughter, who's her power of attorney, lives in Spain. So she's great, she's involved, but she's not local. So we're that local sort of checking in, managing all of that. But to address your question, how do people stay at home? I think it starts with, again, that assessment to determine how workable is this space. In many cases, it can be workable. We may need to redo a bathroom, guess they get in a stair glide, take a look at safety of egress, how that space could work for them. And then it's often a process over time of adding in services as they're needed. It could be a companion, some help with transportation, some meal delivery, caregivers. There are so many specialists out there. It's an amazing thing. We could get a physical or occupational therapist in to do their consultation and make recommendations about where the grab bars need to be. And I'm short, I'm 5'2", so where I need it would be different.
Oh, geez.
Somebody who's 6 feet tall, right? Right-handed, left-handed. So, it's really a matter of what are your priorities? Let's have an honest discussion about how reasonable they are. For example, a split level home, that's challenging.
With the staircase.
With the staircase, there's no option of one level living there. And my parents, I grew up in a split level home, and they ended up moving to a continuing care retirement community because my grandmother, when she visited, as she declined, it became almost impossible for her to be there. I say almost. There's, theoretically, we can have that conversation, and it's our goal to honor your wishes as best as we can, safety first, then autonomy. But, and people can change their minds. Sometimes living at home becomes isolating. So it may be great for a while, and then we keep touch and have that conversation. How are things going? How is it working? When you have certain dementia diagnoses, that can become very difficult to manage in a home setting safely. So we've got some tricks that all of us know in this industry, but there may be a time that's a tipping point that we need to make a move. But that's, again,
I really like your concept of your pre-planning in advance. I think that's ingenious, and it almost reminds me on the home selling side, we have something pre-COVID, because COVID changed everything, the way real estate worked and how it's being sold. But we did something called a pre-sale home inspection. So that's like before the house even comes on the market, doing an inspection and getting it ready. What you're talking about is pretty much the same thing. You're getting everything in line, figuring out where you want to go. So when you're ready, you just hit a button and you're ready to go.
Yes. And then we'll touch base with them every 3 months or so. Any new medications, any changes, new diagnoses, because we're on call for emergencies. We want to be able to print out that sheet and show up and say, oh, here's the daughter, she's the financial power of attorney. Here's the son, he's the healthcare power of attorney. This one lives in Washington. This one is, in Florida. And I know that she, let's say her vision is very bad. We have to make sure we've got those glasses right next to her, or he wears the shades. We need to make sure this is the battery size that they have. But again, we're sort of on call, and then when there is a need, and it could be years down the road, but when there is a need, then we can say, all right, I understand.
You're ready to go.
They wanted to stay here, and we can educate them too about what again the options are. Even if they don't have any intention of moving, they'll know if you wanted to go into a continuing care retirement community, they're really set up ideally to move in when you're still independent. So you may be able to, yes, go ahead.
I had a question. Do you find that usually it's adult children who reach out for your services, or is it the actual older adult themselves?
I would say it's probably 75% adult children.
That's what okay, yeah.
Really?
I think because more of them are on the computer all the time, and they're still dealing with their jobs and their own children and all of that. So but I have found a lot more, maybe it's with this proactive planning group, a lot more people who are the active, younger retired, I'll say, who are finding us and connecting with us because they want to become educated.
Right.
About their options. So I'm hoping that more of them will learn about this field and get it. And it's not a big cost consideration because it's just the time that we're meeting with them for them to understand what's going on.
Well, it makes a lot of sense. And you hit a good point too about like a couple or a single person without children, or the power of attorneys out of the country. One of my dearest friends is in Portland, Oregon, and her mother's in New Jersey. And I literally just gave her the website because her mother's struggling at home. And I'm trying to help her find somebody in New Jersey because she already came out and spent 2 months with her mother. And she can't come out and spend 2 months with her mother all the time.
Right.
So it's real. It's real.
And there are times where in that sort of a scenario, we can help support mom, well, and keep those lines of communication going. And then if there's a decision that it actually mom decides, let me move to Portland, I'd like to be closer, or the daughter would really like to have her closer, then we can help connect them with real estate agents and senior move managers or whomever, because we're a resource.
Well, it takes a village, right?
It does.
Yeah.
It does. Yes.
Yeah. Great.
And I also, before we move to the next thing, we had someone join in, Dave Rantanen, who's on the call. And I wanted to just quickly introduce him so you all know that's my partner, Dave. Say hello to everyone, Dave.
Hey everyone, how are you?
Good morning.
So
Sorry I was
Dave's-
late. I was showing a home to a client.
Yeah. So Dave's actively working, and I know this weekend is especially busy. And I know that's where Tracy is, but the other person we were introducing, she's out with clients. So that's how our business works. It's sometimes 7 days a week. So welcome, Dave. And we're going to move on to the next.
Glad to be here. Good stuff, by the way. Actually, my question was going to be what you answered at the end there. What if someone lives out of state, family lives out of state? How can you help them? And that transition to another area. So that was a great segue there.
So here's this is the part of the presentation we were going to ask about. Tell us about Erin, if you will, about the initial assessment. And is that done in person or when the person's out of state, or how are you doing this on Zoom? How are you doing this, and what happens at that assessment?
And I think most of us in this Aging Life Care Association will have an initial phone call at no charge, a complimentary initial. That's really to help them understand who we are and what we do, and help us understand what the situation is, so we can be clear about the kind of service that we provide. And then we collect a lot of information ahead of time, which we'll review off the clock before we ever meet. Meeting in person is the best way to have that initial assessment, though, because we can see how they're moving around in the space. Which rooms are they in? How is the lighting? Are there tripping hazards? Is there, could we scooch that chair over a bit to make a wider place because we see you're using a walker, and that would make it easier for you. We can talk to them in person. They can see who we are, because this is a personal relationship. They're sharing a lot of what's important to them in life and personal information. And I think we need to make sure we have a good rapport. There are 6 of us in my business, and there are many all over the country. I think we have maybe 2,200 or so ALCA people in this country. So everybody has a different personality, And some may be a better fit, but if I were going to have someone come in and work with me or work with my parents, I would want the opportunity to meet them in person. So we'll take a tour of the home. We'll look outside the home as well, to see what the situation is there. We then answer any questions that they would have at that initial assessment. Really, we try to keep it not terribly long, an hour and a half. That's usually long enough to have someone in your home asking you all these questions. And then after that, we will put together our research and recommendations. We have had family members out of town on Zoom, FaceTime. We've called them in, put them on a speakerphone for that. We have to make sure that we're clear that this retired person is our client.
Fine,
If
okay.
a daughter is paying or a son is paying, this retired person is the client. This couple is the client. So, and their wishes are important. As long as they are competent to make their own decisions, they may say, I'd really rather have this meeting just us. Then we can communicate with our son or our daughter or our kids, and we certainly honor that. So it is a collect information, in-person meeting. We then get our act together and do our research and recommendations. Then we can either go back and have another follow-up in-person meeting. We can schedule Zoom. That's something we pivoted to quickly in COVID. And I almost wish I'd had more of a heads up so I could help some of my clients get comfortable with Zoom. Then by the time we needed it, I couldn't get in there to help them with it. But, going to a client's house and using my phone for a FaceTime call with a doctor, when it wasn't really safe to get her out to the doctor. So each family's different, their needs are different, but we try to get everybody involved who needs to be and who'd like to be.
Awesome. So we talked about the age in place, right? Because that seems to be what everybody says. I want to stay. I'm never moving, right? I'm going to live here forever. But what about some of the other options that are available, and how do you assist with determining what the right fit is for that particular client?
Right. And we have many clients who live in senior living communities and many who still live at home. So, and again, some who've started at home and then have moved in. So it's a process of identifying what is that person's functional level? What are their assets? All care is expensive. As we know, all care is expensive. Once you need care, whether it's home or in a community, it's going to be expensive. If you need a tremendous amount of care at home, it will cost you more than it will if you move to a senior living community. So also knowing which ones are out there, because you drive by some, you may not know, well, that one doesn't have independent living. That's just personal care and memory care, and you're looking for independent. Or you have a diagnosis, let's say Parkinson's, that in all likelihood at some point, you're going to need some pretty significant care for that. So you may want to look at a community that has a skilled nursing facility. And again, our lingo, which can also be SNF, just to confuse things. We have to look at the assets again. Most people are on a budget. I'm on a budget. Most people are on a budget. So understanding, is this something where down the road, we're going to need to tap into Medicaid or medical assistance, call it in Pennsylvania? And if so, which communities have that option and which don't? If you have some assets up front, you may want to move into a CCRC with an entrance fee, and then helping them understand what are all these costs, what's refundable, what's not, what does a life care community look like? How is that different from a fee for service community? We can do the research based on what their wishes are and what are reasonable options for them with their circumstances and their finances. We can arrange tours and accompany them. We can arrange tours, and if they have somebody to go with them, give them sort of a list of questions that we think they should ask or things they should be aware of. We've always contacted these communities ahead of time, but we don't share what our clients' names are up front. I'm working with a client couple, they're independent, they're in their late 70s, they're looking for. And so then we can also, once they've decided on a community to move to, we can help facilitate the move and help them understand what the process of adjusting to that is. I think people tend to underestimate, and Lydia, you've seen this over and over,
Yes.
underestimate how long it takes to adjust.
Yeah.
And what to expect. And it's a process.
Yes,
And
it
if
A real process.
And if they're needing care, it takes a while to develop that relationship, really. Let the staff get to know you, let you get to know the staff. You start off with a plan of care there, and that probably needs to be adjusted. So we can attend those meetings as well, the care conferences. But our goal is to make this as smooth as possible. It won't be perfect. It'll never be perfect.
never is.
Never be perfect. There will be glitches, but then the communication, look, it's the most important thing to me is I am, I have a good amount of light in the room. Or the most important thing to me is I'm in the quietest room. Okay, we need to let them know this up front, these communities, and then see what the availability is, help them understand what the wait lists may be, and what might be a trigger if you're independent to move into personal care, or what would qualify somebody for skilled when personal care assisted living is no longer appropriate.
So in your world, are people coming to you? Is this more proactive, or is it more reactive? What's happening?
I think people hear more about us when there's already a need.
Right.
And I think that's how the whole industry started. So that makes sense. And
Okay.
we can get started very quickly. So we're used to that. Obviously, in those circumstances, the most important thing is to stabilize the situation. After we've done that, either in a home setting or a senior living community, then we can move more to, all right, now let's take a look at what the next steps are.
Got it.
But if
Okay.
people can find out about some of these things in a proactive way, I think in the least they're going to be better educated if there's an issue.
So that seems to be the right way. Okay.
So real quick,
So-
speaking about being proactive, you mentioned wait list. So what do you see in like the typical wait list? Because that's something that just kind of struck me as, hold on a second, we could have a delay here, so it's not a good idea to wait.
Now, we can always find a solution for a crisis. And Lydia,
Mhm.
you know
Yes.
this very well. as well.
Very true.
So, but it may not be your number one choice.
Mhm.
So let's say you're a couple and you're living at home, but you think for some reason, socialization, whatever, you don't want to deal with the burden of a house, that you'd like to move into a senior living community. What's most important to you is you want to make sure you have a 2-bedroom unit with a nice patio. Now, and maybe there are a number of communities that have those. Right now, they don't have any availability for that. So you can get on a wait list. Often if you get yourself initiated with these communities, that gives you opportunities to get in there, maybe have a meal in that community, meet some other residents, maybe attend an activity, but you're waiting for that size unit. Now, if you're flexible, there will be less of an issue with that. Or some of these communities have, and I know Beaumont does as well, has cottages, houses. So
I love those
for a
cottages.
standalone house, then obviously there are a limited number of those. So, you want to understand what's out there and then make sure you're on the list. So if one becomes available, that you get the opportunity then to say, yes, I'm ready to make that move, or I'm going to stay on the list because we're not quite there yet. And again, I'll say right now it's summer and I was going to say lovely, but actually it's a little hot, but at least it's not snow and ice. But keep in mind, if you're considering a move, that just like it's often for families to move over the summer because of school, if you want to make a move, maybe you want to do that if you're seriously considering it before the weather gets bad.
Right.
And it gets dark earlier. So, your hours you really are comfortable out driving may be a little more limited, that kind of thing.
And Erin, I like that you mentioned those cottages, and I don't know, Lydia, if I'm allowed to say where they are, or if that's okay, but is it okay? I mean.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm in Beaumont and we have beautiful villas and apartments.
Yeah, and I've been there, and I was like blown away with what they like that option, because I went around and we toured, Dave, myself, we toured a lot of these facilities because our clients always ask, hey, we like swimming, we want, certain things. So we went to Beaumont and I was like, wow, these cottages are like really impressive. Like they're 2-story, they have red oak hardwood floors. The kitchens are open. They're really nice.
Yep, they are very
And
beautiful.
there's a pub there.
Yeah, the pub. I did notice that,
Yes.
which is uncommon in a
Which
lot
is
of
really
other
neat,
places.
actually.
Yeah.
So you
So-
all have to, when you're looking at these things, you have to decide what your priorities are.
Yes.
So
So Erin, could you tell us a little bit about like the economic piece and
Right.
portion of what you do as far as payment and private pay, and what about insurance? How does that impact the whole care management arena?
Yeah, because this is a really important question. Our services are not covered by Medicare.
Okay.
So you have to go into this understanding that in most cases, it's a private pay scenario. However, there are long-term care insurance policies that have coverage for our services. It's usually called care coordination. It won't say geriatric care management or elder care management. It'll usually say care coordination. And we're happy to review policies and see if there's a way to tap into that for our clients who have them. And even with the same company, it depends when you bought the policy, what provisions you had. Some will have internal care coordinators that can give you some advice remotely, but it's always worth taking a look at if you have a long-term care insurance policy. And interestingly, in many cases, you can tap into that benefit even if you don't qualify for the care
Whoa.
coverage benefit yet.
Now,
So
how
it's
does that impact? Like, I'm reviewing one right now. It's actually
Okay.
a relative, and I'm reviewing this policy.
Mhm.
They have a wait period for the. It's
Eliminate.
does
90
that
days,
not
yeah.
apply in your world, like for what you're talking about? So there's no way you can just immediately use this benefit.
And I think you can, and always call or give them permission, and we'll call and find out how to do that. And if they have a care coordination benefit, what do they need from us to prove we are a legitimate company? We have the liability insurance, all of that. But often, if it's a couple who would just like to have some information from us, they're able to tap into that. They don't have care needs, with what they call the activities of daily living that would qualify them to receive the long-term care coverage. But if they have care coordination, they may be able to tap into that without an elimination period. And we have, I think, 3 clients right now, we're billing their long-term care insurance
Wow.
policies, not proactively, actively, because they're already receiving services, but their policies are covering part, or in some cases, all of our services through long-term care. So especially if you got a policy a long time ago, good for you. And it's probably an excellent policy. So might as well use that as you can. But if you don't have the policy, and most our clients don't, most people don't have long-term care, then it's a private pay situation.
And how about, like, besides the economic considerations, how about like the monitoring? I know you mentioned earlier in the call, you were talking about, post monitoring. How does that all happen for your clients? I mean, do you continually stay engaged with them and follow up, and do you advocate for them, and is that in your world?
I think advocacy is really important, actually, in what we do. And it depends on the client, I guess, would be the quick answer. We have some clients that we are actively involved. We will see them weekly. We'll attend all the medical events, coordinate, manage medications, coordinate the care amongst practitioners, communicate with family members. Again, facilitate getting the power of attorney documents, living wills, those things if they don't have them. Make sure that we are connected to the service providers that they have if they're in their home or in the senior living community. So we're quite present. For other clients, it's more sporadic. Our proactive clients, it's quarterly. Now we're available more frequently if they need us. And then in some cases, really the families say, what we need is, we just need you to come in, do an assessment, give us some plan of care recommendations, because we have a good team. We're here, we're local. We can take it from there. We just need that outline. And that's how we handle it at Brandywine Elder Care. Everybody has a kind of a different way. Some people will have to have your initial assessment and recommendations. There's a set fee for that. And you have to commit to, let's say, a monthly visit after that. Now, I will say
Got it.
we'd all like to have monthly visits because then we feel like we really know what's going on. And if there's a decline, we're going to notice it quickly and be able to address it hopefully before it becomes a bigger issue. But that's not for us, at least what everybody is looking for. So we try to customize that. Sometimes we'll do that plan of care in place, everything works well. And then maybe a year or two down the road, we get a call, hey, you really helped us get things set up, back in, prior to COVID, BC, I call it, before COVID. But now we're noticing because of COVID and all of that, that's really not the greatest fit right now. So now we want to shift gears and look for something different so we can step right back in once now, if it's been a while though, I will say we're going to need to do another assessment and make sure that we're up to speed on the status.
Just so everyone knows, before we conclude today, I'm looking at some of the Q&As right now, and there was something, I'm assuming it was for Erin. They wanted to know some contact information. So hopefully at the end, remind me to ask you that so you can share. If people need to follow up post, they're welcome to.
Can I go back, Erin? I wanted to go back to the fee. So I do know, and you were saying like sometimes, like with the initial assessment, some geriatric care managers charge a flat rate for that, and then it becomes an hourly rate. Other care managers just go with hourly. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's a right or a wrong way. It's just a different way of doing it.
Right.
What I will tell clients initially is plan on about 5 hours of our time. Now, and I would say right then, it may be less. It could be more if we get in and we find, especially if it's an adult child who isn't able to be here regularly. I think mom's okay, but if you could do an assessment, we may get in there and find a really challenging situation. So it could be more than those 5 hours. But I think at least it gives them a guide. Okay, all right, 5 hours. That
right, and that's realistic. Yeah.
And then we'll have a negotiation after that. So what do you need from this point on? Sometimes with the recommendations, they'll say, all right, that's great. They hand them back to us and say, you go and take care of that. Sometimes they'll say, let's divide and conquer these tasks. If you can set up the home care here, I'm going to take mom or dad or my parents, and we'll arrange the tours with the contacts that you've given us. And that's okay too. This is a private pay scenario. So they're not committed to anything, but we hope that we're providing as much service as they need. And we hope they'll see the value of having us involved over time.
So really it's as little or as much as the client needs. Really, it could be just the consultation all the way up through joining them at the medical appointments, looking at all the various choices, and then post follow-up as well.
Yes.
So there's not a contract, correct?
There is a contract,
Okay,
but the contract, yes. And the person signing the contract is the person paying. So it's not always the actual client.
Right.
But when it comes to like an email consent form, what we call an authorization to release information form, those are HIPAA forms. Those need to be signed by our client if our client is still able to sign legally for themselves, or the power of attorney. But for us, the contract is explaining, we charge the same hourly rate, but we have 3 payment options in our business. So we can either accrue hours and charge the next month, or they can prepay for 5 or 10 hours, kind of like a retainer. You get a bit of service at no cost, and then we work off of that. It's the same rate, so it's really whatever they feel comfortable with. We have some clients who love the prepayment options. They just, every month we'll send them an accounting of here's where you are, this is the service, this is what's left. That's great. Here's another check, and we'll, let me know when we're whittling down on that. But there is a contract. We need permission to provide this.
And what about in the case, because I know I was looking just before we got started today, I was looking at the signups to see where people are from. On this call today, we have people, a majority are Pennsylvania, right? Southeastern Pennsylvania, they're Chester, Delaware, Bucks, Montgomery. I think I saw a Lancaster County person, but we also have some people on the call from South Jersey and Delaware. Is that in your bailiwick, or would you go to the website and try to help them find someone in that geographical area?
Well, you can always go to the website. Let me say that first of all. But we cover Chester, Delaware counties, most of Montgomery County, Newcastle County, Delaware.
Oh, you do? Okay.
And we can bleed a little bit into Berks and to Lancaster counties now, because there are 6 of us. So, which to me is a blessing to have this team.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Team.
it's great because we'll
Yeah.
say externally to each other, have you had a client here? Who's the contact there? What do you think of this home care company right now? But we also have coordinated with other aging life care managers. Let's say in New Jersey, I got a client referral because of a former client, which was very nice. But this particular client is in Bucks County, which what you really want, I think, when you're looking for an aging life care manager is that local expert. Oh, I know Dr. Such and Such. I've had 3 clients that I've
Got
met.
it.
Or this particular franchise, home care franchise, is great in this county. They're struggling a little in that county. So if they're great in my counties, I may not know if they're like the best providers in another county. So then we will pass off with each other. I'll get referrals from other care managers who don't, this isn't really their area. And then the same thing for me. If I get somebody, let's say they live downtown, I'm not an expert on downtown, but I can refer you. I can put you in touch with someone in my field who is. And then with the moves also, sometimes we're tag teaming. We have some clients who spend part of the year here and part of the year in Florida, or the year here and part of the year in Maine. All right, let's just, we can work that out together.
Interesting. So what I did hear earlier, it sounds like there's also a fit, like how a shoe fits. And, when you're looking at colleges, there's a certain fit. When you're looking for a care manager, there's a certain fit. When you're looking for a senior 55 plus community, there's a fit, there's a vibe, and it's got to fit and feel right. Is that pretty much?
Yeah, and I'll say we can make great recommendations based on your finances, what you say your wishes are, but we don't know how it's going to feel when you walk in the door to a senior living community. One hint I've given to clients before, it sounds kind of odd, but drive around in the parking lot and look at the bumper stickers, because then you get a sense of what the people who live there, if it's important enough to put on a bumper sticker, that's meaningful to that person. So, and obviously look at the activities, what are kind of group are they catering to? But when you walk into a community, you might say, yes, I see people who look like me. I'm comfortable. I know when my parents moved to a community, what they said was, we've never met so many people who we would really have considered such good friends before. Because in the neighborhood they lived in, they just didn't get a chance to interact, and they moved to a community that was a great fit for them. So, but yes, everybody is different. And again, my background is nursing. 3 of us are social work. We've got public health, we've got psychology, and there are other specialists. The most important thing, we'd like to think each of us could be the right community or the right fit, but this is, again, very personal. So it has to work for them.
And I absolutely attest to what you're saying, Erin. And I will say that the vast amount of knowledge that you can provide is unbelievable. And I think also just the support and de-stressing in a family situation.
De-stressing.
Well, and to have that advocate who's impartial. And I'm saying this from a personal perspective too, because I've mentioned my mother-in-law in Florida, and one of the things we were trying to do was to relieve some burden on my sister-in-law who lived right near her. And she was getting pulled into all the care things, and she worked. And so when we were looking at this, my mother-in-law was still in her condo. So we started, as you were saying, like with home care. When she needed a facility, we had the geriatric care manager do the research. And then she ended up in a place, I said, the non-shiny penny. And then she was in memory care, and then she moved on to hospice, and she recently passed away. But through that entire process, our geriatric care manager was absolutely critical to everything we were doing, and money very, very well spent. Absolutely.
Thanks for saying that, Lydia.
I'm
such an advocate.
Comment.
Yeah, well, I see it, like we've been in this field for so long, and you see family dynamics. You know, there needs to be an
That's good.
impartial person. People don't know what the resources are out there. They don't know where to go. And so to know that, you know, the geriatric care manager profession is out there. I mean, I think it's just like hospice to me. People don't know enough about it.
Exactly. Yes.
Right. So the more that we can educate and help people understand, it really provides so much relief in looking at all these different options.
I
Well, I'm just
imagine a lot of
grateful.
people don't know the questions to ask until they actually get into the
Correct.
process too.
Agreed.
You know, when they visit facilities, they go, oh, this is important to me, or other questions come up that they could have never imagined before. I mean,
Right.
Brett
Right.
mentioned college, or someone did here. I mean,
Yes.
you know, when you're looking at colleges with your kid, you have no, I mean, there are so many things you don't even think about until they get there. And
Right.
frankly, the kids or the senior person can come up with those questions on their own. They don't need the help of the kids, so to speak, but they'll start going, oh, you know what? I didn't think this would be important, but it is important, or vice versa.
And as Erin said too, and we've talked about this, that often the initial issue is a crisis.
Yeah.
And that's really tough.
Reactive.
So I will say, and we've all been talking through all these sessions about proactive planning. And maybe your proactive planning is just understanding that having a geriatric care manager is an option. Because so many times it's that discharge from the hospital and needing the rehab center, and where's the best rehab place to go? And then what do I do with mom can't go home. She's in that split level. So now what do I
Right.
do?
Right.
And it is very stressful.
It's incredibly stressful, and you're trying to problem solve,
Mhm.
sometimes at a distance. And again, you've got, even if you're doing this for a spouse, not even a parent, you've got a lot to do, and quickly.
Mhm.
You know, I've said to my clients, if you go in the hospital and it's time for a discharge, if we're actively working with them, we're already working on that while they're at the
Right.
hospital.
Right.
But if we get a call, we say, please call me with the list of possible rehab options, because the hospital discharge planners are not allowed to guide you
Right.
as to which might be a better fit than another one. So that's what you're paying us for, to say, oh, no, this is not really our number one choice. Let's try this one instead, or whatever in the process.
Mhm.
I think that it's important. What I'll say is there are always answers.
Yeah.
They may not be exactly what you want, but trust, you know, there's been somebody who's been through this situation before, and there are always answers, and you want to see, you know, okay, what are they?
Mhm.
And
And
what's-
I will say too, when there's when you have children involved, you know, whether there's 2 kids, 3 kids, 4 kids, and whomever's the power of attorney, everybody has an opinion, but there's that historical, you know, relationship with the parents and all the dynamics that sometimes children can't get beyond, even though we're adults or whatnot. And to have that impartial person to kind of cut through all that and say, hey, we're not here to resolve this lingering issue from 50 years ago. Your mom needs to be here now, and how are we going to move forward? So I think that's just a tremendous benefit.
I think a good segue is really in my closing remarks, and we're going to take questions. We already had a bunch posted in the Q&A. And by the way, those on the call, if you still want to post a question, use the Q&A. We'll be happy to answer. And, you know, the whole topic of what we've been talking about in this whole series, the ABCs of senior housing, everything we've covered so far, you know, it's something, you know, no one really wants to talk about it, but it's really something you should. And it seems to me, hearing what Erin said, the earlier you start, this pre-planning concept, I think, makes huge sense for people. I think that was an awesome commentary.
You know, it's interesting. I've said in the past, you know, we are planners. We plan for all sorts of things. We plan for college, we plan our careers, we plan our vacations. And when people are planning for retirement, what they're typically thinking is what they're going to pursue when they stop working. I call that stage 1 of retirement. And most people are pretty good about that. You know, what we work with often is stage 2 of retirement. And if you just know what's out there, even a little bit of knowledge, I think, is going to help when the time comes. And for all of us, almost, the time will come that we need something different. You know, when we talk about senior living communities, I say, well, if you're going to get a tour, don't just tour the independent. Let them know you'd like to see all the higher levels of care. because
Absolutely.
that's really what you're paying for. And if you're going to be independent your entire life, you probably wouldn't be moving anyway. So let's just keep that in mind. Let the person know when you schedule it that you'd like to schedule at a time that you can see everything, because you get a really good sense of the community when you do
And it
that.
seems like don't focus on the chandelier in the
Yes.
entrance foyer.
Yes.
Try the food, see the people, look at the activities, tour some of the rooms, you know, it's spend some time there and really understand if it's the right fit.
Yes, absolutely.
So everyone on the call, I want to just thank you for coming. We're going to get to some Q&A, but I wanted to give you an opportunity for anyone that isn't connected to us. Feel free to like us, share us, connect with us. We do a lot of really interesting promotions, and this is through the real estate arm, which is what I'm part of. And coming up will be Thanksgiving. We have a pie day. So everyone on the call that signed up, you'll be getting an invitation. You can come in and pick up a pie. It's just super fun. It's like our favorite time of the year. So again, that'll be somewhere around Thanksgiving. Hopefully this time with COVID, we'll be able to maybe have something more formal. It's been in the last 2 years, it's a drive up and we drop it in your trunk just to keep everyone safe. So please feel free to join us. And I want to open up to some questions now. We had some already. So Gwen asked if you could share contact information. So
Sure. You know what I'm
Erin,
going to do? I'm going to give you my cell phone number for people to
Okay.
write down. I can also share my email address, and then I can send to you links to the website and the Aging Life Care Association, all of that you can disseminate out to the group. But my cell phone number is 484-639-7311. 484-639-7311. There's an 888 number on our website, brandywineecm.com or brandywineeldercare.com. And you can use that 888 number also, but feel free to call me on my cell phone. I have it with me all the time. So, and my email address is Kershaw, which is my last name, Kershaw, Kershaw at Brandywine ECM, so 2 E's in a row, brandywineecm.com. And on our website, there's a contact us that can send me an inquiry also, so I can follow up with you.
And this one I'm going to let Dave answer. I'm putting Dave on the spot. I don't even know if you know the question, but this is from Miss. I'm just doing the first name. And the question was, do you offer home buyer services to find a single home in a 55 plus community in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware?
1,000,000% yes.
Okay.
Should I expand? You know me, Brett.
You're
I don't like
more
to,
than
I don't like
welcome
to
to.
talk too much, Brett. You know that, right?
Yeah, Dave, I know that.
You know, frankly, because of Brett and I's relationship goes, you know, for a long time now. I work with a lot of our senior clients, whether it be in over 55 communities, which we know a lot of them. That's probably the largest growing sector. I'm pretty sure it's the largest growing sector of the real estate market is over 55s. Listen, I know it may not look like I'm 55. I'm 8 months away from 55. So, you know, I'm
not going to
pretty
answer
familiar,
that. I'm not going to tell you where
pretty
I am
familiar. In fact, I'm actively looking for something for my mom right now too. And there are a lot of places out there that you wouldn't necessarily think are over 55 communities that are. So yes, to answer your question, absolutely yes. Can certainly help you out. Love doing that. I take a lot of pride in working with you know, with our clients of, you know, that are making that transition. I think it's important because I always think about my parents and, you know, how I'd want them to be treated. So.
Well, two things to keep it for everyone on the call. I want to remind you that number one, our next event is going to be September 10th. This guest, I believe we're talking specifically about an IRS tax code. We did touch on it a little bit. We had an elder lawyer in a previous workshop. And this has to do with the sale of a primary residence. So those on the call, if you're thinking about moving, and you're going to go to a 55 plus community, and you've been in your house for 2 of the prior 5 years, and it's been your primary residence, if you're a joint tax filer, you can exclude from federal taxes $500,000 of gain. If you're a single tax filer, you can exclude half of that amount, so $250,000. This is a huge, huge opportunity. It's one of those items in the tax code that many people don't know about or understand. And our guest is going to really delve and dive deep into this, so people have a really good understanding about, how you can save money if you're thinking of moving. So that's our next guest, September 10th. You can sign up on the website. The other thing is, we're going to ask everyone that's on the call, you're going to be getting something from us, a survey. It's super helpful. This is how we plan for future events. Like, that's how we know who our guest was this event, based on the feedback we got from prior events. So this is an ongoing series. We're looking to do it in September, October, November, and I think we're taking a break in December, and then we'll probably start it back up again in January. So you'll be getting a survey. I'd be grateful. And then I want to remind those on the call that, especially if you're aging in place, and Erin mentioned, you might need grab bars, or you might need to retrofit a house, or any of those special needs, you can use our concierge, and we have vendors. The vendors on that list that we talked about in the beginning of the call, it's open for everyone on the call. It's a free service Dave and I offer, and it's for clients or people sometimes that never move. We have people that have been calling us for 20 years that just need a painter or a plumber, or they don't want to clean the gutters, right? Because that's a danger, right? Getting up on a ladder, cleaning the gutters. I mean, I'm sure Lydia, Erin will attest that, that might be one of the things that happens. Someone gets up there and then they hurt themselves, and then they need to make a change or a lifestyle.
Yeah, please.
Ladder.
Yes.
So we have people that will do that for you. So you don't need to lift a finger. Whatever it is you need, call us, and we're happy to help you. Lydia, any other comments or anything you want to add?
No, this has been great. And Erin has just been the perfect person to talk about this. And as I said, Erin and I have known each other a long time. We've had clients in common, and overall, just the whole geriatric care manager experience has been wonderful, personally and professionally. And I just really encourage people to do the research, to reach out, know this resource is there, and to take advantage of it.
And I love your tip. By the way, Erin, your tip about, and I'm reviewing one literally right now as we're talking. It's a relative, and I'm looking at one of their policies, and I think I'm going to send it to you, because I didn't even know that was available in this policy. I did notice the 90-day, wait provision for their.
That's common. 90 days, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a great tip, and I will say we've gotten a lot of testimonials from these webinars, and it would not surprise me that somebody says something about that. I remember that we had one. I was telling people who were early on the call, because we had a lot of people sign up early, that somebody called in or used the advice, I think, from the elder care lawyer, and was super happy because it's saving them like $100,000 about titling and assets. So we're happy if we can provide information. We believe what goes around comes around. We're happy to do this.
Yeah.
So everyone, thank you for spending your Saturday. We're grateful. Dave, any parting comments from you? Or
No parting comments, except for, Brett, you had the slide up there. Follow us on social media. There's a lot of information that comes through our social media. This is our Facebook page, Brett Furman group page. So if you want to like that, that would be fantastic. You go get a lot of, cool information there. You can follow us on Instagram as well. And nowadays everybody's got Facebook. I see my parents are writing me notes on Facebook thinking nobody in the world is seeing it. Meanwhile, I have 900
Yes.
followers that are seeing everything they say. So you might want to keep that in mind also.
And that brings up a thing. I just saw a new Q&A come in from, and I hope I'm pronouncing it right, Araceli. how do we find the recorded version of today's session? Can we share it with friends? Love the question. Absolutely. So what we'll be doing is, so this presentation, we'll create a recording. We'll probably have it uploaded to the website one day next week. There's a whole library we've built in our 55 plus section of the website. Erin, you're going to be providing some information.
Yes.
We'll add that for everybody to use. All the recordings are available, and then you can forward them from the website to somebody else who can use the information. But thank you for the question. Good question. That's it. Everyone have a great Saturday.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Have a
Thank
great
you,
one.
Erin.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.